You know, change is inevitable. The world has changed dramatically since I started 35 years ago in this profession. But though the world changes constantly, and we can't stop that, what we can do is we can help to shape that change. And in ICMA, as leaders in local government management, we have the opportunity to help to shape change in our profession, in our communities, and in our society. And I believe that the opportunity for us to lead significant change and transition for our profession and for our communities and society is right before us. This year, our profession and our organization will undergo substantial changes. We are actually kicking off our strategic plan. You've heard about it at the conference today. We are going to be collaborating, the ICMA Executive Board is going to be collaborating with the Task Force on Strategic Planning to do an environmental scan later this year in December. We'll be looking at all of the changes that are occurring around us and how we can develop a roadmap for ICMA in the future to look at how change will affect our profession, our associations, and our communities. And we've seen it all. We're seeing it daily. We're seeing the changes that are brought on by the shifting demographics in our society and how it's affecting our cities. We're seeing changes that are occurring in terms of the public's level of trust for us. We're seeing what we thought were issues that had been dealt with many, many years ago coming to the forefront yet again in terms of the social equity that we need to address in our communities, and that is part of what our professional responsibility is in the delivery of services in our communities across the country and around the world. The drivers of change that will be affecting ICMA in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years are things that affect all of us. And so we have been soliciting input from all of you, from our membership, to provide us with input based on what you see in your communities, and so that it can help inform what the Executive Board is going to do as it leads the strategic planning effort. If you haven't had a chance yet at this conference, please take the time when you get home to go online and provide us with input that is going to be critical as we begin to develop the strategic plan later this year. It is the future of the profession. It is the future of our association, and your role in it is as important as the leaders of your Executive Board who will help to bring forth to the membership that new strategic plan in the next 18 months. Another significant transition will occur that will have great impact on our association as well. Many of you have heard already that our Executive Director, Bob O'Neill, will be departing at the end of next year. And so the Executive Board has embarked upon a recruitment process to identify the individual who will assume the role of Executive Director when Bob departs for his next chapter. The impact that Bob O'Neill has had on our association has been significant, and identifying someone who will be able to pick up where Bob leaves and provide a seamless transition for our association, for our profession, and for those that he has led, both in this country and around the world, in discussions about the future of our communities, the urbanization of our communities, the development impacts of our communities, the sustainability of our communities. Someone who is a thought leader who will be able to pick up that work and continue along and take the profession to the next level is what we are seeking. We are looking for diversity. We are looking for someone who embodies the best of this profession. And your input in this process is also important. We have solicited at this conference your input on what you think the qualities of the individual who takes over in the next chapter of our association's history will be. If you haven't had an opportunity to weigh in yet, we're still seeking that input as well. And I say that on both of these issues because as leaders of our association, we represent what we can of our membership. And we don't do that in a vacuum. And so your input continues to remain an important element of the work that we do on the ICMA board. Anybody who knows me knows that my trademark are my colorful glasses. And there's a lot of bets that go on about how many different pairs of glasses I have. But you know, my colorful glasses really represent a lot more than just a nice accompaniment to my outfits. They really represent the colorful lenses through which I look at the world in all its richness and all its diversity. Because for me, particularly as a woman of color, it's important for me to express in all things that I do the importance and the value of diversity in our society. And I spend a lot of time as I look through these colorful lenses and see all of the differences that exist. And as we heard just the other day from Verne Myers, understanding the differences that I see is really important. We have a tremendous opportunity this year and moving forward to deal with some significant issues that the ICMA board has examined over the last couple of years. The Women's Task Force, or the Task Force on Women in the Profession, and the Task Force on Inclusiveness in our profession are two significant bodies of work that have been undertaken by member volunteers who have served on those task forces. The reports that they have provided to the ICMA board and the implementation plan that we have now developed for the Task Force on Women in the Profession and the implementation plan that we will begin to take on, having just received the Task Force report on inclusiveness in our profession, will drive, I believe, much of what will happen in our strategic planning process. They are among the most important issues that face our profession. And I say that recognizing that there are many issues that face our profession and our communities, but these issues impact who will lead our profession into the future. And that's why they are so important. Many of you have seen the buttons around the conference over the last few days, the 13%. I am one of the 13%, and I'm very proud of that. But I'd like to be able to say that those buttons said hashtag 50%, because in reality, that's what it should be. And it is going to be a significant part of the work that I undertake this coming year to continue to promote the advancement of women in the profession and to continue to push the issue of diversity and inclusiveness in all aspects of what we do in ICMA, and to work with our members, all of you, to gain a better understanding of what our responsibilities as members of ICMA are with respect to the advancement of women in the profession and advancing diversity and inclusiveness in our association, in our profession, in our community organizations, and in our communities. It is the most important work that we can do in building community, is recognizing that celebrating diversity and finding ways to commit to greater inclusiveness is at the core of what we do in ICMA. Because as leaders that are inspired by a code of ethics that provides us with a series of principles and values about what's right in what we do, creating social equity is highly on that list. And it's important for all of us to recognize that it's not good enough to talk about it. We have to make it happen. We have to be the leaders in those efforts to help advance women in our profession and to increase the diversity and inclusiveness of our profession. Because as I've said before, people cannot aspire to be who they don't see. And for those who are coming up in our profession, our next generation of leaders, our emerging leaders, if they can't see those who they would like to be, they will never consider this profession one that will embrace them. They are the future. They'll make the difference in our communities. And I am very proud to be able to say that over the coming months, that I want to continue this conversation. I want to support the board in the implementation of the work plan for the Task Force on Women in the Profession, and to help lead the implementation plan for the Task Force on Inclusiveness in the Profession. The sweeping changes that we are confronting in this profession, and that will continue long after my tenure as ICMA president, require much more of us and much more of our leadership skills than we have been used to. And we've recognized that with the Task Force on Leadership. We've recognized that the role of city managers today, and all of us who work in local government at whatever level, requires a new set of skills. And those skills are at the forefront of what ICMA is best at developing. For those of us who have been in the profession for many years, as well as those who will carry on in the future, building great leaders is what ICMA is all about. And so to further the work of the Task Force on Leadership, we've begun the process of expanding the role of leadership as a core value of our organization, of our mission. We will continue to talk about leadership in all of its various elements and how it is evolving today to deal with the rapidly changing world that we face in each of our communities here and around the world. Leadership is something that requires not just skills. It requires vision. It requires an ability to communicate effectively. It requires the ability to lead in a different way and to help others to lead, not by positional authority, but by the ability to influence others. And so it will be a great honor for me to work with those in our profession who are building their leadership pipeline in their own organizations to be able to do the things that they will need to be able to do as they face a changing world. Our association is a great association. We have endured 100 years, 102 years exactly now. But there is so much more that we can accomplish in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. Because when we commit to building our next generation of leaders, we're doing the most important thing that we can do. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. You know, we now offer an opportunity for all of you to invite those in your organizations who are emerging leaders, who are mid-career professionals, and others to be a part of this great association. We've made it really easy because we have an affiliate rate that every city can afford. And so I'm going to challenge all of you as you go home to think about those in your organization who are the future of our profession, the future of our association. And I'm going to challenge you to invite them to do what one great city manager did for me a very, very long time ago, my very first city manager. He encouraged me to be a member of ICMA, and he paid for me to be an affiliate. He took me to my first ICMA conference because he believed it was important for me to be exposed to the profession. And though the profession didn't really look like me when I first started 35 years ago, he nonetheless felt it was important that I be a part of it and learn how to be a professional by sharing time, by being here with those who led at that time. And so, as an inspiring mentor to me, I'm challenging all of you to be inspiring mentors to those that you work with and that you may work with in the future, and that you will commit to help doing what is so important. Because, you know, as the Chinese proverb says, To prosper for a year, grow wheat. To prosper for 10 years, grow trees. To prosper for 100 years, grow people. And that's what I challenge all of us to do, is to grow the next generation who will take over for us. I appreciate the opportunity to lead our organization through this change that we are facing. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to deliver the message about why it's so important that we move from 13% to 50%, and why it's so important that we dedicate ourselves to expanding diversity and inclusiveness in our profession. Thank you very much.